Introduction. 8 forbidden compliments women can't resist. Stoicism. Most men think compliments are simple. Say something nice, get a positive response. But attraction doesn't work that way. Women hear hundreds of generic compliments, and most of them fall flat because they come from a place of neediness, not strength. What truly captures a woman's attention are the compliments that strike deeper, the ones rooted in observation, emotional intelligence, and stoic confidence. These are not the cheap lines that inflate her ego for a moment. These are the rare, powerful compliments that touch her identity, her presence, and a deeper feminine energy. In this lesson, we explore the 8 forbidden compliments women can't resist, not because they are manipulative, but because they illuminate something she secretly wants a man to recognize. Each one goes beyond appearance and taps into psychology, subtle validation, and respect. Combined with a stoic mindset, these compliments elevate you from just another guy to a man who sees her clearly, appreciate her essence, and remains grounded in self-respect. If you want to stand out, make her feel understood, and create a connection she feels on an emotional level, these compliments are your advantage when used with intention and restraint. Stoicism teaches that true attraction comes from presence, calm strength, and authenticity. These compliments reflect exactly that. Let's break down the 8 compliments that ignite interest and why they work. 1. Compliments on her presence, not her looks. Complimenting a woman on her presence rather than her looks is one of the most powerful yet underrated ways to leave a lasting impact, because it speaks to something deeper than appearance. It speaks to who she is. Most men rely on superficial praise, telling a woman she's beautiful, cute, or attractive, but those words are so common that they carry little meaning and even less emotional weight. What truly captures a woman's attention is when a man notices the way she makes a room feel, the energy she brings, the calm she radiates, or the way people naturally gravitate toward her. These are qualities she didn't simply wake up with. They reflect her personality, her values, and the inner work she has done over the years. When you compliment her presence, you are acknowledging something that most people overlook, and that immediately sets you apart. It shows you are perceptive, grounded, and attentive, qualities women deeply respect. A compliment like, "I really like how calming your energy is," or "You make people." 2. Highlighting her effort, not just a result. In a world where most people only praise outcomes, choosing to highlight a woman's effort instead of just her results is one of the strongest, most attractive forms of emotional intelligence a man can show. Anyone can say, "Good job," but very few notice the late nights, the discipline, the internal battles, and the consistency she puts in behind the scenes. When you acknowledge her effort, you're telling her, "I see you, not just what you produce." This taps directly into one of the deepest human desires, to feel understood and valued for more than performance. Women especially respond to this because effort-focused appreciation feels personal, genuine, and emotionally safe. It separates you from the crowd of men who offer generic compliments without depth or awareness. Highlighting her effort also shows that you have a grounded, stoic perspective. Stoicism teaches focusing on what can be controlled, and effort is the one thing anyone can fully claim. When you praise her effort rather than the outcome, you reinforce a mindset that encourages growth rather than perfectionism. For example, instead of saying, "You look great in that dress," saying, "I love how much care you put into your style. You always show such attention to detail," recognizes the intentionality behind the appearance. Instead of praising her career success with, "Congrats on the promotion," saying, "You earned it. You've been grinding for months with determination," validates everything she invested. This shift communicates subtle but powerful respect. It also builds connection. When a woman feels that you notice her effort, she feels emotionally seen, and people naturally move toward those who understand them. This type of appreciation is especially effective with strong, independent, or high-achieving women who rarely get acknowledgement for the energy they pour into their responsibilities. Many women achieve impressive results, but most compliments they receive focus only on surface-level things, beauty, achievements, or tasks completed. Very few people actually slow down to recognize the perseverance, discipline, or mental resilience behind those achievements. By being the person who notices, you create a form of intimacy that does not require physical closeness. It is psychological closeness, and it is far more powerful. Highlighting effort also protects you from appearing like you're trying to flatter her. Complimenting result can sometimes feel transactional or superficial, but acknowledging effort never does. It feels earned, specific, and authentic. She can tell you're not trying to impress her. You're simply recognizing reality. That creates trust. It also shows that you hold yourself to a similar standard, because people who appreciate effort usually value self-development. Ultimately, focusing on effort rather than outcomes is a mindset that elevates both you and her. It shows you look deeper than the surface, appreciate character over appearance, and value discipline over luck. It creates a dynamic where she feels respected, understood, and motivated, not because she needs validation, but because your perspective encourages her growth. And when a woman feels that a man truly sees her effort, she naturally becomes more open, comfortable, and emotionally connected. 3. Compliments that reflect observation, not flattery. Compliments hold tremendous psychological power, but the ones that truly resonate, especially with women, are those rooted in genuine observation rather than shallow flattery. Many people rely on predictable lines like "you're beautiful" or "you're gorgeous," which may sound nice but rarely leave a lasting impression because they require no real awareness. Observation-based compliments, on the other hand, demonstrate presence, attentiveness, and emotional intelligence. They show that you notice the subtle details most people overlook, and this makes a woman feel seen rather than evaluated. When you shift from flattery to mindful observation, your words gain weight, sincerity, and influence. For example, instead of commenting on her appearance alone, you might highlight the intention behind it. "I notice how much thought you put into your style. It really suits you." This acknowledges effort, personality, and authenticity. Another powerful form of observation is complimenting her mindset or behavior, not just for appreciation for her femininity and softness. In a world that often celebrates speed, dominance, and constant forward motion, many men overlook one of the most powerful ways to connect with a woman, genuinely appreciating her femininity and softness. This doesn't mean treating her as fragile or incapable. Rather, it's about recognizing the unique emotional warmth, intuitive depth, and nurturing energy she brings into your life. Femininity is not defined by appearance alone. It is expressed through her empathy, her gentleness, her creativity, her way of communicating, and a desire to bring harmony rather than chaos. When a man acknowledges these qualities with sincerity, it creates an emotional safety that allows her to blossom. Women naturally open up when they feel seen, valued, and admired for who they are at their core. Many women carry their softness quietly because the world can be harsh, and vulnerability often feels unsafe. But when a man makes it clear that her tenderness is not only welcome but deeply respected, she feels free to express it more. Appreciation for her femininity means noticing the small things she does from a place of care, whether it's the way she listens attentively, the gentle encouragement she gives you on difficult days, or the subtle emotional intuition she uses to sense when something is wrong even before you speak. Too many men treat these qualities as background noise, failing to understand how much emotional labor women often carry. A simple acknowledgement, "I appreciate how you make things feel calm," "I love how thoughtful you are," or "your presence makes a space feel better," goes further than most men realize. Women remember the moments when a man sees the essence behind their actions, not just the actions themselves. When you appreciate her softness, you show that you value who she is, not just what she provides. At the same time, appreciating femininity does not mean placing her in a box or expecting her to behave in stereotypical ways. True appreciation leaves room for her individuality. It honors her strength, intelligence, and ambition while also valuing the gentle qualities that make her distinct. Femininity and strength are not opposites. In fact, her softness is often where her deepest emotional courage comes from. When a man admires this, he becomes someone she can trust with her full self, the confident parts and the vulnerable parts. This is what creates emotional intimacy, a space where she feels she doesn't have to harden herself to be respected. Ultimately, appreciating her femininity and softness is about being present, observant, and emotionally intelligent. It's about letting her know that her warmth has an impact on your life. When a woman feels cherished for her natural essence, she responds with loyalty, affection, and closeness. Her feminine energy expands, and the relationship grows richer, deeper, and more connected. A man who values her softness becomes a man she feels safe loving. 5. Compliments that empower, not idolize. Compliments that empower rather than idolize are the foundation of healthy attraction, emotional maturity, and genuine connection, because they shift the focus away from worshiping someone from a place of insecurity and toward appreciating them from a place of inner strength and clarity. Many people fall into the trap of giving overly intense praise, calling someone perfect, the most beautiful person ever, or acting as if their attention is a divine gift. And while these comments may seem flattering, they actually create pressure, imbalance, and emotional dependence. Empowering compliments do the opposite. They uplift, affirm, and acknowledge a woman's value without placing her on a pedestal or diminishing your own self-worth. When you compliment someone in a grounded way, you send the message that you see them clearly, not as an idealized fantasy, but as a real person with strengths, qualities, and depth worth appreciating. Empowering compliments often highlight effort rather than traits, noticing her discipline, her kindness, her intelligence, or the choices she makes. These kinds of compliments tell her you pay attention to who she is, not just how she looks, and this builds a deeper sense of trust and respect. Another key part of empowering compliments is timing. Instead of constantly showering her with praise, you give compliments sparingly and sincerely, making each one land with real weight. This shows emotional restraint, which women subconsciously associate with maturity and inner stability. Empowering compliments are also specific. The more precise the praise, the more genuine it feels. For example, saying, "I admire how calm you stayed during that." 6. Identity-level compliments. Most people are used to hearing surface-level compliments, comments about their looks, style, or something they happen to be doing in the moment. While these can feel good, they rarely create deep emotional impact. Identity-level compliments, however, operate on an entirely different psychological plane. Instead of praising what someone has or what someone does, you acknowledge who they are at their core. This form of validation connects directly to a person's sense of self, their values, and the qualities they privately hope others notice. When you compliment someone at the identity level, you are essentially telling them, "I see you," not just the surface, but the person underneath. And that hits harder than any physical praise ever could. Identity-level compliments are powerful because they bypass the outer layers, the appearance, the accomplishments, the temporary traits, and go straight to the permanent foundation of someone's character. For example, telling a woman she has a beautiful smile is pleasant. Telling her you admire the way she remains gentle and composed even when the situation becomes stressful is unforgettable. People rarely get complimented for who they are internally, which is why when they do, they remember it, they replay it, they attach emotional meaning to the person who said it. This type of compliment triggers a deep psychological response, the desire to bond with someone who truly understands them. Another reason identity-level compliments work so effectively is that they show emotional intelligence. Anyone can notice outer beauty, but it takes real attention and presence to acknowledge inner strength, resilience, moral values, or personal growth. When you highlight these things, you demonstrate that you are not observing casually, you are observing with intention. This kind of awareness signals maturity, depth, and stability, qualities that women naturally respect in a man. In a world full of superficial interactions and shallow validation, genuine recognition stands out like a lighthouse. It makes the other person feel seen in a way that is rare and meaningful. However, identity-level compliments must be authentic. They should arise from real observation, not forced flattery. The purpose is not to manipulate someone into liking you, but to reflect back something true that they might not hear often. And because these compliments carry emotional weight, they actually encourage deeper conversations. When you say, "I admire how you stay loyal to the people you care about," you're opening a door for her to share stories, experiences, and personal beliefs. You shift the dynamic from small talk to connection-based interaction. The deeper implication of giving these compliments is that you elevate the interaction from the external to the internal. You subtly communicate that you value substance over appearance, something that resonates deeply with women who are tired of men chasing them for shallow reasons. Identity-level compliments, when used well, help build trust, attraction, and respect simultaneously. They reassure her that you are not impressed by the surface, but by her essence, her kindness, her discipline, her compassion, her ambition, her integrity. And when someone feels admired for who they truly are, they naturally lean closer to the person who gives them that level of recognition. 7. Delivered calmly with stoic composure. Stoic composure is one of the most powerful forms of communication, not because it is loud or dramatic, but because it is controlled, intentional, and unshakably calm. When a message is delivered with true composure, it carries a different weight. People listen more closely, the words land more cleanly, and the speaker comes across as someone who knows exactly what they stand for. At its core, delivering anything calmly is not about hiding emotions, it is about mastering them. You allow yourself to feel whatever arises, but you choose not to let those feelings dictate your behavior or leak into your message. This is why Stoic communication creates respect. It shows discipline, emotional maturity, and inner balance. When you speak calmly, even during tension, it signals that you are in control of yourself, and that self-control naturally leads others to trust you more. A calm delivery prevents misunderstandings, diffuses potential conflict, and turns even difficult conversations into opportunities for clarity. Instead of reacting impulsively, you respond thoughtfully. Instead of raising your voice, you raise your standards. When you communicate with stoic composure, you guide the moment with steady presence. This steady presence is especially crucial in relationships because people often remember how you said something more than what you said. A calm tone communicates confidence without aggression, firmness without hostility, and honesty without emotional chaos. It protects the integrity of your message. Even uncomfortable truths come across with more dignity and less drama when spoken calmly. Stoic composure also teaches that timing is as important as tone. You don't speak the moment you feel triggered. You speak when you return to clarity. This habit builds a reputation. People start to see you as someone who cannot be provoked, someone who thinks before acting, someone whose words always carry intention rather than impulse. That reputation subtly shifts social dynamics in your favor because people instinctively respect those who remain grounded in stormy moments. Delivering your words calmly also improves your internal state. It lowers stress. 8. Rare, intentional, and not overused. In a world where attention is cheap and constant validation is handed out like loose change, the most powerful form of expression is restraint. Anything that is rare becomes valuable, and this applies to your words, your presence, your compliments, and your emotions. When you are intentional, when you speak with purpose instead of impulse, you create a gravitational pull around you. People notice when you don't speak unless you have something meaningful to say. They notice when you don't compliment just to fill silence or gain approval. They notice when your actions are deliberate rather than scattered. This is the essence of being rare, intentional, and not overused. It is the difference between a man who blends into the background and a man who stands out without trying. The mistake many people make is thinking that more effort equals more impact. They over-explain, over-apologize, over-text, over-compliment, and over-give, hoping the quantity will compensate for the absence of quality. But in reality, every time you overdo something, you dilute its power. A compliment repeated too often becomes suspicion. A presence that is overly available becomes ignored. A message sent too frequently loses its emotional weight. When your energy is everywhere, it is valued nowhere. But when you become selective, when your gestures are rare and backed by intention, people don't just notice, they remember. Being rare doesn't mean being distant, cold, or unavailable. It means being purposeful. It means understanding that attention is a currency and spending it wisely. It means understanding timing, knowing when to step forward with strength and when to hold back with discipline. The power is in your choices. When you compliment a woman rarely but with sincerity and specificity, it hits deeper. When you offer your presence sparingly but wholeheartedly, it has more impact than showing up constantly out of insecurity. When you reveal your thoughts occasionally but with clarity and conviction, your words carry a sense of depth people aren't used to. You become the opposite of noise. You become signal. The Stoic principle here is simple. Value your internal resources. Don't give them away casually or reactively. Restraint is not a weakness. It is a sign of inner mastery. Intentional action shows that you know your worth, you understand the weight of your words, and you're not seeking validation through excess. People respect what is not easily obtained. They admire what is offered selectively. They chase what feels valuable, not what feels common. And when you operate from this mindset, you naturally create mystery, presence, and respect without forcing anything. Ultimately, being rare and intentional is about elevating yourself above the noise. It is about becoming someone whose attention feels meaningful, whose actions feel deliberate, and whose presence commands respect without a single word spoken. When you stop overusing your energy and start using it with precision, you become unforgettable, not because you try harder, but because you waste nothing.